So the same thing with my girl. My girl was like, yo, you know, I'm Christian. I don't like these countries that go to war. But I'm like, Christianity went to war. They were the biggest war.
Right.
They killed the most people. But she was like, but those weren't real Christians. I'm like, oh, so what are real Christians then? Tell me.
Yep.
Because the only reason you're Christian is because something like that happened.
Privilege is something that's earned. Everybody has privilege to a certain extent, at least if you live in this country. Theory.
Propaganda machine is spinning. So everyone is being fed the same information.
Right.
And everyone is forced to think the same thing. And because 75% of people are NPCs, whatever they see, they're going to stick to it.
First you get the money, then you get the power, then the women.
And then the women.
Or in the Simpsons case, first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the sugar. Then you get the sugar. Down a rabbit hole to try to identify. And I think that's really what I actually love about truth seekers, because you have to have an understanding of there almost is no answer, but the willingness to go and seek it.
I guess justice based on Christian.
Right, depending on what your virtues and your
So it depends on
values
what you
are,
believe
that
in.
was how you can delineate what it may be. But then there's also a different value system, because if you now look at it like, well, you have, you know, the entity that just so happens to be the Lord. They operate from different rules than you do.
Well, there was something interesting me and my girl were talking about. Me and my wife, as I should say. My wife is like, oh, I don't understand all these wars. Like, I'm a Christian. And then I explained to her, I was like, so do you know why you're a Christian, right? Like, there was religious crusades. But she's like, but those weren't real Christians. But I'm like, but that's the reason you are Christian, because they won a war and spread Christianity. Because you could very well easily, if history was written any other way, you could have been any other religion.
It's written by the winners. And there's always war. War is not only, I don't want to say necessary, but it is.
Yeah.
But it's bound to happen.
So I could be I could be the complete, let's say World War II, let's say Hitler had won.
Right.
Everyone would be like, oh, thankfully Hitler won against those evil Americans and evil other countries, you know? And then they would be like, because history is written by the victors.
Written by the victors.
So like we could be in a perspective of like, yeah, it's good to be this way.
Yeah, I saw a film called The Greatest Story Never Told. I think it's like wiped off of YouTube, definitely on. So, but if you go out of your way to search it, it's like the story of the Nazi perspective. And I read Mein Kampf and everything of that nature, because for me, I've always looked at it like, all right, perspective. No, I'm not going to come over and like, well, let's back this happens. But basically, it was just trying to, okay, let's see from their perspective or whatever. I'm like, yo, you know what? If they did mess around and win, it would end up just like that. Because think about it from the perspective of what you read in history. It's written by the winners. It's written by the survivors. So if I really want to change the narrative, it may not happen in the current generation, but as it's now indoctrinated into the minds of the children,
everything we believe could be a lie, because 100%. Of who won throughout history.
100%, because if you look at like slavery, and then the very first generation of slaves, it was on them to go revolt, and if you all died, the enslavers would have to go find somebody else, because if you either jump into the water off the boats or you fight until there's nobody for them to enslave, at that point history would be written as, well, we tried to enslave motherfuckers, it didn't work, and then I guess there's no slavery. It would end right there, because population would be done. But as now you have people who went and got enslaved, and then you have born into slavery, you're accustomed to this now, so you think this is what life is. So it's like the crabs in the barrel. If you're born in the barrel versus being placed in the barrel, you have two different perspectives on how life, is to be lived.
So it's interesting when you say that whoever wins writes the story, because you see it all over the world. People that you think are good guys are actually bad guys. Right. Like, great example, Columbus Day. Now people are woke and they're like, he's a conqueror, and they don't celebrate Columbus Day anymore. But like, they make Columbus Day a day, because it's like, we discovered America, even though it was technically already discovered. But
and he didn't necessarily actually discover it. But think about how many years upon years, from what was it, 1492, he sailed the ocean blue, up until when did they stop Columbus Day? In this millennium. So that's what, maybe about 400, 500 years. Well, yeah, until the 19th. So about 500 plus years of, well, we're celebrating Columbus because he was able to go and discover. It took how many generations to finally say, yo, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So you can get away with the propaganda for hell of a long time.
So the same thing with my girl. My girl was like, yo, you know, I'm Christian. I don't like these countries that go to war. I'm like, Christianity went to war. They were the biggest war.
Right.
They killed the most people. But she was like, but those weren't real Christians. And I'm like, oh, so what are real Christians then? Tell me.
Yep.
Because the only reason you're Christian is because something like that happened.
And there's also a comfortability as well.
You know?
Because you got to take into account where, you know, you live, what times that we live in. There's wars that go on in the world left and right.
So you see people in America. People in America now are very like
incredibly
soft.
comfortable, right?
They're like, I saw something, and I don't want to. I'm not speaking on it because it's not my topic, but I saw it and it did make sense to me. It's like, if your biggest problem is what pronoun someone is calling you,
right?
Your biggest problem is someone pronouncing you, misgendering you, right? While kids are getting their arms and legs blown off. You're entitled. You're privileged.
Right, incredibly privileged.
You're
incredibly privileged. Like, so, oh man, my parents got me the wrong color BMW, or oh boy, man, I woke up this morning, I wanted eggs over easy, but it was made scrambled. Like you have to really contextualize things, because there's always somebody who's got it worse than you.
That saying of like, what is it? It's hard times create strong men.
Yep,
strong men create
soft times create soft men create hard times.
Weak men create hard times create strong men create good times, or something like that, and good times create weak men. So that's kind of what it is. It's true though. It's like you see a population like the United States that's super privileged because you've been on top of the world for the longest time. Everybody's soft now, and then meanwhile you have unfortunately you have kids that are getting their legs blown off and stuff. So those people, that's why you see a lot of immigrants that come to the United States, and all the immigrants that come here, like, oh, this is great.
Right.
This is great.
Because you have to really think about it. With this great exodus from other countries to come here,
my country.
Why do you think they're leaving from where they're leaving to come here? Like, think about in America, whenever some people leave from here to go elsewhere, it's like, oh, I go there because it's very cheap and my dollar is longer. You're not going there for the lifestyle.
You're not going, exactly.
You're not going there for the lifestyle. Like for Dubai is a little bit different, where people are going there like, oh, well, there's a lifestyle that I can live there, but because your taxes, all this other stuff. So you go for like financial gain. That works. These people are coming because they're escaping from just the worst of the worst kind of situation. So I always try to tell people, like, you have to realize how privileged, because even privilege is something that's earned. Everybody has privilege to a certain extent, at least if you live in this country. You may think, man, it sucks for you, depending on the context, but there's always somebody who's worse. Now, I'm not saying live your life in a situation like, well, you know, I gotta just be super grateful for everything under the sun. You should live with gratitude, but you shouldn't be at a point where it's like, well, somebody's always got it worse, so I should never, complain. There's times in which it's warranted. I
personally think that you should always be grateful no matter what your situation is, especially here. I think there's a difference between gratitude and entitlement.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people assume that, like, it's easy for you to be grateful because you're rich. No, it's easy for me to be grateful because I have the opportunity. Right?
You have the opportunity.
The opportunity is what I'm grateful for. I'm not grateful for the fact that I have what I have. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to attain what I had. So every day I wake up grateful because of the opportunity that's there. I'm not grateful for what I have.
Right.
So I think that's where the gratitude comes from. And I think a lot of people, they are not grateful for what they have, and instead they want something that they don't have. But if you're not grateful when you're broke, you're not going to be grateful when you have money.
100%. And moreover, the willingness to even realize what they have. Because people will focus on the negative more than they'll look at the positive.
Yeah.
Almost all of the time. Like, you can accomplish a shit ton of things in the year, but you just fell short of what your goals were. You reached like 80% of what you initially had set out on. You're like, man, this year was a failure. But wait a minute. You may not have made it to the ultimate goal, but look how far you came from where you were, right? Everybody should always do an assessment to at least say, hey, what have I been able to accomplish? What am I grateful for? Because there's something to be grateful for.
Yeah.
More often than not, you'll only look at what you don't have, and then you'll sit there like, man, I wanted to do this, I want to do this. This fucking sucks. I don't have this. I don't got that. I don't got that. But wait a minute, you got all of this stuff that you did. It's one thing if it was handed to you and now you have that entitlement from birth, so you never existed without it.
Right.
So there's no way for you to identify, not having it. But if you're somebody who came from nothing, like you did yourself, I did myself to a certain degree. I mean, I had the 2-parent household, but it was a little bit different.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I was freaking sunshine and rainbows. My parents giving me $3 or whatever the case is. But one way or another, they have to have that understanding of gratitude.
Yeah.
Just don't have enough, I don't want to say enough gratitude, but just don't have a multitude of gratitude to where now you don't want to accomplish things because, well, it could always be worse, so I'm cool with where I'm at. Don't get complacent.
Yeah.
But you should be grateful enough to say, hey, you know what? I've got an opportunity, because that's the biggest thing. What do they call America? Land of opportunity.
Yeah.
So you should be grateful for the opportunity, like you said, to be able to strive and achieve things in life.
What do you think about all the election stuff going on right now? Because I was thinking about like current events. What can we talk about? Like,
right.
Ruby Rose not out here collecting OnlyFans money.
It was a sham.
Kardashian's been missing in action for a minute.
I think they have a show
What's
on
been
Hulu, but people
happening?
are still freaking obsessed with them.
I think the only thing I've been seeing like current event wise is like literally this election that's happening right now.
Right.
The Republicans are battling.
Yeah. I think it just came
Donald
to
Trump smoked.
Yeah,
them.
I think
primary
he got
smoked them.
endorsed by Vivek.
Vivek dropped out. Right after that, Vivek dropped out.
DeSantis I think dropped out. Now it's just Trump and Haley.
Nikki Haley.
And he's gonna, yeah. She's an interesting individual.
She's a puppet woman.
Right, and then on the Democratic side,
hold on. She did a thing. It was literally I was watching. I was laughing because you know how I say like, yo, as a kid, like I was the brown kid.
Right.
And she's like,
oh, did she say she was Indian?
She said, yeah, because she's Native American.
I saw an article. Yeah, I saw an article. Right.
But no,
Native
but she
American.
said
Right.
I don't know if she's Native American. I'm assuming that's what she meant when she said Indian, because I don't think she's like, she's not ding 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 ding. She's not that Indian. She's like Native American. So for her to call, for her to say, oh, Native American, for her to say Indian, that's kind of racist already.
Right.
That's kind of a white woman of her already. That's kind of.
Apparently.
Listen,
Apparently.
I'm freaking brown. But that's kind of, I'm a brown boy too.
Right.
Shout out to all my Indians out there. I'm one of you, kind of. A brown Asian.
Well, it depends, because I think also complexion also plays a role too, because if you can be passing,
but I don't think she's actually Indian. I think she's Native American.
Nah.
Nikki Haley?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Look it
I
up.
only know it in passing, because I don't really focus too heavily on it.
Little Indian girl, like Native American. First of all, Native American. So, but she was in an interview and dead ass, serious face, not even joking. She goes, I was like, growing up in school, all the white kids would laugh at me for being the brown girl. I'm like, oh brother, what is this pandery?
Right. It's the super pander. It's like when Clinton did the whole hot sauce in the purse thing.
That's crazy,
Because it gets to a point, because also you have to, when you look at photos of people where if you have that ambiguity, to where that I can sit there and say, all right, this person looks like you're all over the place. Cool. Right.
Say, oh, that was the brown girl.
You look, what would they call it? Fair skinned. So in that situation, it's like, okay.
But Nikki Haley.
Who are you
I don't know,
fooling? Like at that point now, you're just doing everything that you can to try to get people to sympathize. And even that, I think that's falling out, because people are realizing you're pandering.
It's super weird because like she just seems like super like.
She means Indian. As a ding, 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 ding.
Oh really? Wow. Well,
she's actually Indian.
Well, it says I was a proud daughter of Indian immigrants, not black, not white. I was different. Haley born.
Nikki Haley.
Nikki up to Sikh parents sent her videos.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Really? So she was, ain't that like the about to be assassinated?
Yo, if you're Indian, you're watching it, I'm so sorry.
I used to have a bit. I used to have a bit of like the different level of, I used to have a bit.
Oh,
interesting. Oh, good Lord. See, now we about to get demonetized. We're coming up.
From the news.
Right. All right, apparently. All right. So the news article says, it was the towel guy. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Good Lord. Oh, boy, we can't go to 7-Eleven anymore. This has gotten racist. But one way or another, I think with her, it's foolish, because you can't pander like that. In today's day and age, the pandering, it's not going to work anymore.
Especially when she's getting a fucking bag from the defense companies.
Right. Because you can't get people to try to sympathize.
That's how she got all these endorsements. She got that big money behind her. That's the only reason she's still in it. But like, Trump is like the people's champion. I've been watching his stuff. Dude is so fucking funny. Like I'll sit there,
he's
and he's naturally like just like charming, entertaining. Please don't move the rug because it's taped to the floor.
Went under. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. But yeah, I know my wife is gonna be like, "Why are you pushing the rug?" No, so he's just so entertaining. Because after all of that, like I watched like his little like snippets, And the way he'll just talk about people, the way he'll like say shit, is just people love him.
Because he's a politician who doesn't carry himself like a politician, and he's not even he's a politician just by circumstance of having it comes with the title comes with the job.
Bro, he didn't even show up to any debate, smashed everyone. It was like he had 51% of the vote in Iowa. It was like a landslide.
Because right now, America's just either picking the restaurant they went to before that they wasn't that bad.
Right.
Think about it.
Right.
A new restaurant. So
Right.
Like, let me just go to the one, all reliable. Let him finish what he started, essentially. And I know what this is going to be.
All reliable.
Yeah, because what's so interesting now is like
reliable.
politics has now become like the new entertainment. Because before, I think there was an element of people who actually cared
Nobility.
about stuff.
Yeah.
Like there was some, okay, cool, you know, the Republicans are in.
Yeah.
All right, now this is going to be what policy. It used to be more primarily about like
It used to be
policy or
public
whatever.
servant. Now it's like keeping up with the Kardashians.
Now it's all entertainment. So people just it's sports.
But
so
Trump
with
is
that
good
being
at
the
it. He
case,
had-
it's like, all right,
yeah.
well, who's more entertaining?
Trump
That's where
had a
you want to
reality
lean
show.
with.
So that's
Right.
why he's good at. He gets this part of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I said, I was Joe Biden 4 years ago. Now seeing where we're at, I'm kind of like, all right, this dude's like, we kind of gotta go. We kind of gotta go flip floppy here. But Biden doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, I got no dog in the race.
Homie is lost.
I just look from afar like, wow, this is interesting.
Joe Biden, I just love like the highlights because he has like highlights of him just glitching. Like, I just be glitching. Where
Right.
There was the funniest one when he was speaking on stage, presidential. I was like, okay, cool. Walks off, shakes hands with an invisible person. He
Right,
shakes hands with
right.
an invisible person.
Yeah.
And then walks off. I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, what does he do? Because when you think of like in the past with like presidents, like that's the representative of your entire nation, and it's starting to get ridiculous. Like I actually use like one of these the memes of when I think he was like chomping on the back of a little girl, that her mother was like holding her up, and he went like behind her. He's like, right over like her shoulder. So I use it in the string. It's hilarious. But I look at it like it's all entertainment now. That's just what it's become.
Yeah, it's weird because like I do feel like there's some. Well, I think right because I like looking at politics because I was like, yo, so like if I from a marketer's perspective or someone that vies for political power because ultimately politics is influence.
Yeah.
How would you get votes? You know, I think Vivek was doing it right. I'm surprised that he lost so bad. Got his ass whooped.
It's just a matter of exposure. I think give him let's just say if Trump were to go and win and you put Vivek as the VP, just because he's a much better mouthpiece than all of the other VPs that you had in the past. Because as politics continue to progress, you're going to get better speakers. You're going to have better people on there.
Dude is like brilliant.
He is, and he's a people's person.
Yeah.
So with that being the case, very personable, willing and open to debate even with people who are. Because I saw a clip of him.
On CNN.
He was on. Yeah, I saw a clip of him where he was. I think he was at a university. He was doing a speech or whatever. Somebody was outside protesting, like, "Oh no, we don't want you on the campus." He came out, had a conversation with the person, like, "Hey, there's no reason for you to sit outside if we're having the dialogue inside. Feel free to come inside and we could talk about it." The person was getting ready to leave. He helped the person pack.
Yeah.
And actually was still, being nice about it.
Yeah.
And the thing with me is it doesn't have to get to a point where it's like, I hate you, you hate me, let's just freaking fight.
Yeah.
Just verbally, left and right.
That's very divisive, especially for the country.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, even if, whether it's the Republicans who win, whether it's the Democrats who win, like I said before, we're all one America.
Yep.
We should all be, although it may not have been our side who won, you shouldn't actively try to hope that the other side loses, because who loses at the end of it? It's gotten to a point now where we, on each side, and I say we because at the end of the day we're all Americans, although I don't partake in the bullshit of it all.
And the Americanness?
But it's like, hey, all right, our side didn't win. Let's just actively go out of our way to sabotage. While all the other nations, although they may not be unified, they're much more unified than we are.
I think the reason it's so divisive though is because it's so good lately. There's no wars.
Right. Motherfuckers is comfortable.
Yeah.
They're comfortable.
But the second there's a war again, we're getting that engine, proud to be an American.
You would hope. Because I myself, I looked at it like that, and then a piece of me is starting to get to the point where you look at like patriotism, it's at a all-time low
But that's because there's no common enemy.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
It's like when you hate your parents or something, and then someone offends them, you're like, hey, what the fuck, dude? That's
Right, but the problem is
valid.
how far along does it get to where, because let's just say you hate your parents long enough to where somebody disrespectfully, you jump in on it as well. Like there comes a point in which you get to a point
You're
where
like,
it's
yeah,
like
fuck
it's
you,
gone
Mom.
too far. So when is too far, in a situation like that? Because I would not be surprised
Some people are
if,
like, man, fuck America type
right,
thing?
like remember a couple of episodes ago when we were talking about like what happened with the on TikTok where the people were like defending, Al Qaeda and all the other stuff. Like even if you're a conspiracy theorist, whatever the case may be, but if you now are like, nah, man, fuck, America, but you live here or whatever, it's only a matter of time before the war comes to your front door, and now people are like, well, I'm not partaking.
No,
Fuck
but I think
that.
that's when you spin the propaganda.
Go down with the shit.
No, but I think that's when you spin the propaganda machine.
You would think.
Because I think right now the issue is that propaganda machine is spinning the other way.
Right.
So I think the second that like there's a common enemy and like all these big corporations know, because some people, I'm not gonna lie, I want to say 75% of people are NPCs, maybe higher, 80% of people.
Higher than that.
80% of people are NPCs.
Yeah, most people are NPCs.
And they just listen to whatever they hear or they see.
Right.
So right now they're really divided because the propaganda machine is just spinning in different directions.
Yeah.
But the second that there's a common enemy to anything, let's say like everyone's self-interests are at stake. Because a great example, if America falls, every company here falls.
Right, every company here falls, yeah, right.
So let's say, oh shit, I own this company, I'm making a bunch of money, I don't want it to fail. Time to spin the motherfucking propaganda machine. I own Google. Any Google search about anything is gonna be America first, baby. I own Facebook, I own Instagram, I own Twitter, I own NBC, I own MSNBC. Every single thing is gonna be America first. Now it doesn't matter if you're left wing, right wing, Democrat, Republican. That theory, propaganda machine is spinning. So everyone is being fed the same information.
Right.
And everyone is forced to think the same thing. And because 75% of people are NPCs, whatever they see, they're going to stick to it.
Yeah, but then the only pushback that I would have with that is, again, like how far is too far? Because if now, let's just say you buy so into, anti-America, whatever the case is, you buy into the current propaganda that's there. What happens if you're like, I'll die on this sword? Well, I think you try to spin it the other way, and now you're fucked.
I think there are people that are like that. But
there are,
like
there's the extremists.
But I think 70% of people are NPCs, so you'll get enough people. Because the crazy is, my mom is an NPC. My mom is an NPC. My mom is like the NPC that in the Pokemon games where like you have to like talk to your mom. Yeah. It's laughing. It's true. It's like, go collect your running shoes from your mom, and you go to your mom and she says it. Yep. So my mom is an NPC like that. So it's like my mom, every time I meet my mom, she's like, did you see the news?
Yep.
They're stealing bikes out there. I'm like, Mom, nobody's stealing fucking bikes out there. I don't know where the fuck you heard that.
Yeah.
Did you see the news? You need to get your 7th booster. I'm like, Mom, no one's getting their 7th booster. So
right.
whatever.
Yeah, my parents are like that, yeah.
Whatever your mom's like that too? Yeah, so all of our moms are NPCs.
But then at the same time, you got to take into account with generation, what did you come up with? And then how did you get all your information when you were younger? All primarily through the news. There was no independent research.
You can get my mom to do anything you want. Just put something news related on it. So like my mom, anything news related, he's laughing, it's true. Anything news related, my mom's going to do it. So like, I was like, oh, Donald Trump is going to win again. She's like, but he's mean. I'm like, why is Donald Trump? Yeah, why is Donald Trump mean? Yeah. And she's like, he abused his power. I'm like, in what way? And she's like, I don't know. I just see he's mean to people. I'm like, Mom, what?
There's no real info, because if you cite your sources, you go into detail, you got it. All right, you worked for the opinion.
Right.
But if it's just repeat what it is that you hear, because everybody repeats information. Right. But how much more information do you have? And then where did you get this from? Do you have an informed opinion? Because everybody can have appear to look like they have an opinion, but then they don't.
I respect people that form their own opinions, NPC or not. You could be someone that has complete opposite opinions, but if you come with like a very nuanced argument, you have a very, very distinct point, you back it up with some numbers, you add a little flavor to it. I'm like, listen, you're the enemy, but listen, you're a good enemy to have because you can think.
Right. Because you at least went out of your way to learn and brief yourself on this situation.
But if you're someone that just says whatever is fed to you, you're an NPC. So my mom is an NPC, and I think eventually there's a common enemy.
Right.
The propaganda machine starts spinning, and because propaganda is just marketing, but it's marketing for a cause instead of it's marketing with no monetary return. And it's marketing that costs a lot of money to do it. So I think I would be really good at spinning a propaganda machine but you're not like doing it. You're not doing it to get money. It's marketing not to get money, but to get influence or control, right? It's marketing to get control instead of marketing to get money. And it's weird because you have to market to get money, and then use the money to buy control, and then use the control to live like a king, I guess.
Yeah, first you get the money, then you get the power.
Money, then the power.
Yeah, yeah.
And
then the women.
And then the women.
Or in the Simpsons case, first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the sugar. Then you get the sugar. Yeah, it is true. It is true. There's all comes down to influence, and now I think that's one of the interesting things, because if everybody's pocket is affected, because I did see something where and this was a very interesting. Now I can't remember the exact numbers, but hopefully somebody who's watching, feel free to Google it. You guys will be able to find it. Where they had said they polled, I think it was 100 people, and it said, would you rather make 100,000? What was it? No, I think it was. Would you rather make $100,000 and your coworkers make 50, or would you rather make 150,000 but your coworkers make no, it was 100. Would you rather make 100 and your coworkers make 50, or would you rather make 150 and your coworkers make 250? And the vast majority of people chose the 100 grand because they made more than their coworkers. But you actively passed on 50 because they were making more than you.
Well, I would say I want the one where I make more money.
Right, but it would. But in the poll, I said interesting. No, but if you're doing the same job and you're being underpaid, then by all means, I get it. But the way that they worded it was just to see, like, that's interesting. More people actively, because it was just choose one or the other. No sort of backstory, nothing of that nature.
It's just more so that like people want to be above people.
There's ego that's attached to it. But when I looked at that, I said, that's interesting. Because it's not to say, oh, well, everybody's a hater. To a certain degree, there is. But for you to read something like, and immediately you say, yo, no. I want, rather than say, I would rather have more for me, I want less for you.
That's crazy.
I want less for you. So when I saw that, I said, wait a minute. Because in my mind, I'm like, so if I would, rather than make 100, I would make 150. Great. Why am I worried about what they? So it goes to show how many people actually try to keep up with the Joneses or whatever the case was. But that blew my mind, because now if you were to, let's just say you lower the metric from, well, you make 100 and everybody else makes 50, or you make 150 and they make 250. Let's just say you go down to like 50,000 versus 25. Would you rather make 50 and they make 25, or you make 25 and they make 75?
There's a level of like envy and jealousy almost.
Right.
I think it's a natural human tendency. It's like ingrained in us. Because think about it. Let's say back in the day, in the ancient times, you hunt, you catch a freaking cattle, mammoth.
Yeah.
Catch a mammoth. There's a certain amount of food.
Yep.
You're like, well, fuck, I need more food because we don't know when we're going to eat next. So let me get more, and then this person can get less.
Right.
And I think that's still ingrained so deep in people's minds, they don't realize, like, bro, look around you. We're not living in those times no more.
But then at the same time, there's still, it goes back to, and the reason why I bring that up goes back to like the entitlement portion of it, where you look at it, of course, from the ego perspective, the lack of gratitude that's there as well. But then to now look at somebody and say, I would rather you not be in a better position than me, and I'll willingly take a hit just to make sure that I'm above you. It's where we are, as a people now.
I think they look at it as like a zero-sum game. This is why I like the idea. Like, I think if you're gonna run for office, I think there has to be a couple things that are true. Because I think right now it's too corrupt because you're letting anyone run. Right. So I think a couple things that you can change to make it so that people don't do that no more. You can get someone that's already. The reason I like Vivek, you can't buy him. Dude has $1 billion already. Like there's no reason he can just focus on his business, make a lot more money, deal with a lot less stress. But he has money already, so you can't buy him, and that makes him good for a country.
And for the public, what is his background?
He has a biotech company, right? That he owns like 7% of, and I think his 7% stake in this biotech company is like $900 million. Incredible. Yeah, so dude's a smart guy. Right. But more than that, I think the fact that he has money means that you can't buy him. The issue with having people that have no money go into politics,
you can be bought.
You can be bought
for the right price.
If you can't have, great example, if you like LeBron James can't bet on a Lakers game, it's illegal. because he has a direct impact on that game. Why are politicians allowed to purchase stock?
Yeah, in the Congress that you have a direct,
in companies that they make laws about.
Yep.
You know,
100%.
so it's like, hey, we're gonna pass this law about internet marketing, but before that, let me sell all my Facebook stock.
Yep.
Or let me short this Facebook stock. So that's why I don't like the idea of like poor people being in positions of power, because of that. So two things has to happen. You either just have rich people that do it already, right? Or you make it so that they can't play in the stock market. They can't really have businesses that are they can't have outside interests.
Yeah, because who has a vested, like, because if you're in a situation where it directly affects you, you're going into it of how can I make this better for me? Because you would essentially,
how can I get the 100 grand? How can I give everyone else 50?
Essentially, I think the best way to flip things on its head to where you can kind of level things out is you have to find somebody who's willfully taking a step back and putting everybody else first.
Well, no, it's exactly what you were saying. How people could choose, I'm gonna do 100 grand and give everyone else 50, or I do 150.
Everybody else is better than me. That's the best way to where you can.
Politicians need to have that mindset, but unfortunately, most people are like, okay, I'm going to give myself 100 grand.
Exactly.
Everyone else can have 50, and because of that, so that's why I think politics is so fucking dirty.
It's fucked. It's one of the reasons why when I was younger and I was getting educated on it and everything, I'm like, okay, so there's people who are so. They learn so much about it. Like, it's cool to be informed, but if there's nothing you can do outside of, all right, well, I could go to a ballot. Who's to say that can't be corrupted in and of itself and all that other stuff? So you're still in a situation where it's like, all right, you learn all this information, then you learn how corrupt things can get. What's stopping it from being corrupt? If it's corrupted anywhere, it can be corrupt everywhere. All it takes is somebody to say, no, I will not buy into it. But then they can eliminate you. So then you start looking at people who went out of their way to try to buck against the system. They get taken out. So now you're in a situation like, wait a minute. So who's corrupt? Who's not? Yeah. So for me, I look at it now where with social media to where it's pushed out, it's all entertainment. Whatever the case is, you just find, all right, where does this work? How can I make this work for me? But then you don't try to jeopardize it at the cost of the populace. Yeah. So again, it still goes back to the same situation where people making the laws
don't want to give up their power.
They don't want to give up the power.
They're the ones making the laws, so they're not going to change the laws because they would be like, okay, well, fuck, I'm just fucking myself by changing these laws. Yep. So now it's just it's dirty, bro. It's dirty. But I think that happens anywhere, right?
It happens anywhere.
No matter where you go, it's going to be like that. So
yeah. As long as you're not in a situation where ultimately, let's just say if you're in like a communist country, something like that, to where you can't earn. Somewhere like America, you can kind of, I don't want to say price yourself out, but give yourself options. Yeah. That's the biggest reason why it's important to get money. We've talked about this in the past as well, where if you now accumulate enough funds to where you have an option to if you want to leave, go elsewhere, or maybe you can kind of try to dictate certain things where you can align with certain you could play the game per se if you want to, not that you have to. That way you can kind of avoid, the blowback of everything being affected. So let's just say if you work your way towards like what we talked about in the prior episode regarding like having some fuck you money, whatever their influence may be, you're like, oh no, I'm not partaking in that. Fuck you guys, I'm good. Yeah. But if you're in a situation where you can't say that, or you're homeless, now you have to, all right, what's the alternative now? If I say fuck you, I've got nothing to go to.
You get smoked.
If you're comfortable having nothing to go to, you're a dangerous human being. Yeah. Because you're willing to do so. But how many people are going to do that? Yeah. Well, I'm a father of 4. And I say, fuck you guys, I'm going to die on my sword.
So that brings up the question, do you think there's anything you can do? Because you can't change human nature. You can't change human nature. You can like give perspective, give information, do everything you can. You can't change human nature. Is there anything you could do, or can you just focus on yourself? That's the craziest part, because if you know most people are going to be NPCs, you can't change human nature, you know that politics is fucked up and people are going to naturally act this way anyways. I think the only thing you can do realistically as a human being, stop worrying about politics, because I think you do it well. Yeah. I'm talking about, I get a little invested. I feel like David gets really invested, more than me. Oh, yeah. I get a little invested because I'm like, oh, I want to do something. I hate feeling powerless.
I'm not in a position to do so yet.
You are like, man, I'm like, you said, I don't got a horse in the race. Yeah, I don't got a dog in the race. I'm going to mind my own damn business. I'm going to stack my bag. Right. I'm going to build some fuck you money, and I'm going to say fuck you.
Yep. That's the purpose of fuck you money. As we stated eons ago, you got to be selfish to be selfless. So with that being the case, your best move, the best move on the chessboard is I'm not in the game. I'll back out now. I'll sacrifice now so that I can re-enter down the line with some actual influence to where I can do something. And all you can do is just help somebody one at a time.
Yeah.
Because if you go way too into it now and you don't have the resources, you don't have anything, you're in it, you're set up to be disappointed. Because there's literally nothing you can do, like the Green Party or the Independents. You don't have the numbers yet. So just stay out of it, build a silent following, build up that silent majority, and then re-enter.
And then you could re-enter when you can actually do something.
Got the resources to do so, and now you can actually combat what's going on. Because if you go in too soon and the people aren't ready for you, you're gonna fuck yourself out. So get yourself in a position to where you have your funding in place. Oh, I don't gotta pay for no fucking marketing. I'm sitting on $600 million. I can go do my shit myself.
I'm my own thing.
I'm my own thing. I come in now. I can't be bought. There's no number that you can put in front of me for me to be priced out. I've got enough people who buying into what I got. So even if you cut off the head, I've got enough people who regrow the same fucking head. We all have the same thought process. So once you have something like that, you can play the game. But until that's the case, better to just back away, take, sacrifice on the front end so you can win on the back end. Because
so check this out. I want to give you the numbers spent on advertising for Republicans, right? Nikki Haley's campaign has spent $72 million. She has spent by far more than everyone else.
Just
and you know where most of her, where 63 million of that's coming from? Outside groups. Right?
She could be bought.
So she could be bought. DeSantis spent $60 million, and a lot of it's coming from outside groups as well. Trump has the least out of all of them coming from outside groups because his campaign is spending a lot of money. His own personal campaign, he spent $54 million, still whooped their ass. So what does that say? That Nikki Haley has spent $20 million more than Trump, still getting her ass whooped, but somehow she's still in the race, even though no one seems to like her. There's a lot of money being poured in to make her win.
And then you also have to follow the paper trail, because I think a lot of times people always get lost in, like, they'll look at the numbers, no, who's paying? Because whoever's dollar, that's who really has the influence. Because at the end of the day, like, you can look at figureheads all the time. I've always said, like, the presidential across any country, any nation, there's somebody else who's calling the shots. You 100%. Answer to somebody. Your biggest concern should be, who do they answer to?
It's easier to make the money and just help pay for someone else's shit than to fucking go and run yourself. Because you run yourself, you're the face, you're putting a target on your back.
Yeah, that's how I look at charities. Ever since, like, the Haiti earthquake back in 2010, when they had the Clinton Foundation that had all that money, they built 6 houses. I'm like, man, if I want to go and make a difference, I'd rather crowdfund and then do it myself.
Versus
or if I have my own money, put my own money into it, rather than say, all right, cool, I'm going to go donate to this fund, I'm going to go donate to this fund, and then they do nothing. And you feel like, well, I joined in. If they don't do anything, I'm not saying you got to be the one who always does everything, but I would much rather, if I want to be in that position to actually want to give back and help, do it yourself. Don't give no money to no damn homelessness charity when you know there's fucking homeless people that's on your block. Go, unless, of course, they're just they're homeless. They're not homeless. They're a bum. Unless you have like a bum where it's like, hey, this is what I do. I love crack, like something like that. Then you don't do things in that situation, or you can try to find a way to rehabilitate that individual. But you start small and then build from there. Don't just fucking go to something that appears to be set in motion already, only to find out they've done nothing, and it's just is either play for taxes or money laundering. You don't want to have that situation, because now look at yourself. You did no research. You thought you put money into something that was good, and you end up getting fucked on the back end. So it's like people don't take time to really look at what the grand scheme of things are, because if you follow the paper trail, you follow the money, that's where you identify the power, and moreover, you identify what's the actual intention behind what's being done.
You know what I think is a crazy, super unrelated, but you brought up bums and crack, so I started thinking, you know what I think is the biggest psyop? I was thinking about this the other day. I think one of the biggest psyops and how they keep black people down in America is marijuana and the view of cocaine as well. So let me paint
cocaine
this picture.
Versus crack?
No. Cocaine and marijuana are the two specific ones I talk about. Because I was listening to rap music the other day, and a rapper was like, rappers always shit on cocaine. They're always talking shit about cocaine, how they won't do it. It's like, but they'll always rap about, like, smoking weed.
Okay.
I smoked some tree. Oh, smoking a blunt. They always talk about smoking a blunt or some shit, right? So when you look at like the black community, because of rap music, they're always talking about weed. That's the biggest thing. What does weed do? It makes you lazy.
Yep.
Makes you a bum. Makes you non-productive.
Yeah, because there's a small percentage of those, and I always say small because I look at it the same way, where people always say, and this is just slight tangent, but we're gonna go circle back real quick. But people will say, well, it's not one of those drugs that you get addicted to. I say bullshit, because if you're somebody who can't function unless you have to smoke. Oh, well, I'm going to this party. All right, cool, let me spark up. All right, cool, we're going to this event. Let me spark up. Oh, well, I got to go and do this work. Let me spark up. You can't, you can get addicted to anything. My biggest issue that I have with it is there's a dependency on it, and then the advertisement of all of it, because now that you can profit from, before, if you're somebody who was selling behind closed doors, granted, you would rap, hey, you're actively selling, but it's relatively illegal. Now that you can profit and the government now gets a piece of it, you don't think they're pushing the influence?
For sure.
Like, what do you think these, production companies and all this other stuff and these music labels, why do you think they're pushing it?
Too, so circling back around that, so they're all big on like marijuana, but a ton of rappers will like say cocaine is bad. Yeah. Okay? Now, this is where I'm going with this, because I was thinking about this. Why the fuck do all the rich New York finance brokers, they all fucking love cocaine? Literally every single, like, you go to Wall Street, cocaine in every office. All the fucking rich people, they like these cocaines. You go to fraternity houses where have all these prestigious people. It's all fucking cocaine. You go to the White House, Hunter Biden, he's doing cocaine.
Cokeheads. Yeah.
So my point is this. Why do they give all the little white boys this drug that makes them productive and gives them energy and has them like on their Zoom, and then like the black kids, they're like, oh, smoke weed is cool, don't do cocaine? Because now I hear rappers and they're like pretty much pushing the message of like cocaine is bad. Like Drake has a bar, is like, I be hanging with some hoes, hey, you be playing with your nose, like as in doing cocaine. So he's making it seem like doing coke is bad, but Drake also promotes like weed smoking, Right.
So hell, I've even heard like
I'm not promoting any drug at all. I'm not saying like do coke or weed, but I'm saying like if you have to do one, why would you do the one that makes you productive and like makes you go faster versus the one that's gonna slow you down? Yeah,
it's like lean. Make you lazy. Back in like the late 2000s with lean, and all that other stuff, where people were just like, all right, well, I'll just mix the scissor, all this other stuff. And it's a high level of degeneracy. And the biggest issue that I have with like, because hip hop was an art form, it still is when done in its purest. Because I don't really listen to music, period, like that. Like you're a psychopath. You're a sociopath. I don't really listen to music like that. Like I'll listen to it, but I don't go out of my way. Like in a day, I must hear something.
Someone puts music on in the house. He's like, turn that shit off right now. I like silence.
Well, I mean, I could listen to instrumentals or things like that, but then for lyrics, I don't really care too much about it. Like I got to listen to music, even that. But overall, my biggest issue with it is like you have to recognize their marketing in the music as well. Why is it very consistent that primarily, of course, across all genres, there's a level of degeneracy, but hip hop predominantly in rap is degeneracy. And me knowing that rap is primarily a black, musical art form, why is it that this is what's always pushed at the forefront? Like when Sexy Red came out, I understand if it's something you want to twerk to or something that you want to listen to. All right, cool. It could be something that's catchy. It's a foot tapper or whatever. But then now you start to see, all right, this is performed in schools. You have videos that's going viral of little girls that's listening to the music. They're reciting lyric after lyric. It comes to a point where you're like, yo, wait a minute. Why the fuck is this not only being endorsed, but promoted, all of this other stuff? Like what's going on here when you recognize there's a problem? It seems like it's all entertainment on the front end until that becomes the standard. It's all messaging. It's all, it's all marketing. So with that being the case, for me, I look at it like, yo, y'all got to realize y'all getting psyop. You're getting, caught in the illusion. It's the genjutsu. You're in a situation where you're looking at it like, oh, well, this is no big deal until it becomes a big deal.
Because now people aren't aspiring to do stuff like that. They're aspiring to be
complete degenerate, all this other stuff. Like if you look at like Modesty has now become well, you're a slave.
Well, there's a thing like Future. Future doesn't actually do drugs, but he raps about drugs.
And you can make money. So it's like there's
crazy, bro.
nobody has the integrity because now you're willing to be bought.
Yo, I'm gonna rap about lean. I've never done lean, but like, listen, if I rap about this, they're gonna fuck with this.
And then here's the thing, like, let's just say a Future went out of his way to say, yo, I'm gonna rap about this only to make the money, but guess what? I don't do it myself. I don't think you should either.
Yeah.
But he constantly reinforces that because there's people who are like diehard fans who will hear the interviews where he'll be like, yeah, I actually don't do it. Like, oh, you're only doing this to make money. Cool. The NPC or the casual listener is like, yo, this shit is dope. Yo, maybe I need to go and try this. But you never heard said interview. Right. So if there's a way where you can just say, all right, yo, understand I'm only doing this to go and make money, but I don't actually want you to do this. You can kind of buy your integrity back, although that you're partaking in it. The best way that you would be able to be pure is to just cold turkey go the opposite direction, but then you still have a living to be made. So that's kind of where you kind of got to be transparent.
And it's hard too because like I remember for the longest time they were making fun of J. Cole just because he was making like positive music and they were like J. Cole's boring. No one wants to listen to this boring ass J. Cole. I love J. Cole.
I do too.
I think he has a great message.
Yep.
People hate on that. Like, it's weird to me, bro.
It's very bizarre because when you look at it, I guess it goes down to like hedonism. It's incredibly profitable. It's very entertaining and it's easy to do. It's hard to be pure because there's nothing but, satanic and all this other stuff that's going on around you. And you look at it like, well, is it worth? Because look at the risk versus reward. If this is an incredibly enticing lifestyle, incredibly profitable, particular kind of lifestyle, why would I want to go to where I'm living a modest, pure kind of life that is void of all of that, where I'm not making as much money, not getting as much exposure, and it doesn't seem to be very fun. It seems like mundane, redundant, monotonous. So why would I want to go there? And I could always, and the thought process is always, well, down the line, I could always go, just be modest and all this stuff and change. But you don't recognize this has now become so ingrained in you, and you have a reputation, which people forget that exists. There's no way to undo what you have already done. You can't unfuck after you've been fucked. It's over.
You can't unfuck after you've been fucked.
You can't unfuck what you fucked. It's very incredibly difficult to do so. Right? So when that's the case, what are you going to do? But people they don't take a moment to stop and say, wait a minute, hold on now. What is going on here? So that's always been one of the biggest things for me because I consider myself a thinker. Where I sit down, I'll at least take the time to think. It doesn't make me holier than thou or better than anybody, but at least sit there and say to yourself, wait a minute, why am I constantly hearing something? Because with marketing and being on social media, every time I see something pop up, I'm like, okay, why am I seeing this? What's the purpose behind it? What's going on over here? You
get like, people want to dampen you when you're thinking or you're giving, like, because I have it all the time. Growing up where I grew up, anytime someone would say anything like, but don't you guys want to get out? Like, this is probably not the right way. They're like, man, shut up. Like, fucking thinking ass. Like, they would roast you.
They would roast you for
thinking. Yeah, they'd be like
that's a crab in the barrel. That's a crab in the barrel.
Is it done for me to think, or is it done for me to not want to be fucking broke?
Right.
They would roast you, be like, man, okay, shut
Until
up.
it works.
Like, we always joke, like, entrepreneur head ass. Like, we would make fun of people that would do that. And then, it's weird because like these pyramid schemes, these MLMs, they're predatory to like low income communities. Yeah. Because that's how they get all the things. So they recruit all these like insurance people. So people would be like, pyramid scheme. Like you could be trying to start any business, completely unrelated. I want to start a media company. Pyramid scheme head ass. Like people would make fun of you. Fucking Primerica. Like they would do these jokes. And it sucks because people that are susceptible to peer pressure or judgment, they'd be like, damn, all right, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna tell nobody because they're just gonna make fun of me. So it's crazy, bro, that like that's the state of the world. Right. Because the easiest way to keep people broke is to make them think that getting rich is not cool. Yeah. It's like, oh, you're trying to get rich? Loser. Exactly. And that's probably when I had like the epiphany moment. Yeah. Because I remember when Primerica, Wake Up Now, World Ventures, all those guys, ACN, all of those things, their services of providing insurance, whatever the case, that may be the legitimate portion. But the selling point was getting people to sign up.
So, oh, well, if I bring in 5 people, then now I have a referral fee. And then it's less about what the actual product was, and it was more about
recruiting people.
And that's where it's like, oh, this is a scheme. You got a Ponzi scheme going on over here.
It's not Ponzi, it's legal.
It is legal.
It's a legal business.
Right.
That's their form of, it's multi-level marketing. So they market by recruiting people.
Exactly. But then that's where the downside was, because people just, rather than actually look at it from, no, we actually provide a service, the service became the recruitment. And that's where people are like, oh, well, I'm turned off by this.
Because it was easier to sell. Like, think about it.
Exactly.
How hard is it to sell an insurance policy? You have to know a lot.
Right. You got to know a lot. Versus,
and insurance policies can be very expensive.
Yep.
Versus how many people do you know that want insurance right now? I can't think of one. No one can think of one, right?
Less than 10.
How many people do you know that want to make money?
Everybody.
So you open up your market so much broader when you're teaching them, oh, you could start a business selling insurance.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And it was the easiest way to get a shit ton of money on the front end and the back end. So when I was younger, I'm like, oh, this is some shit. But then as you learn more about business, like, this is a genius for the marketing, right? For the person who runs it, like, you just sit at the top, and then once it gets to a point where you've accumulated enough, when everything goes to shit, you're fine. The people who are just on the lowest level, you're the one who's getting fucked, like with Forex and all the other stuff. Yeah. The people who actually learned the market and everything, they made money. But then the people who only focused on, well, just bringing people in, all this other recruiting,
they got,
by the time it was all over and now nobody gives a shit anymore, now you're like, oh man, I got scammed.
And what makes it legal is because the fact that they're selling a product.
Right.
So you're helping them become like a licensed seller of the product. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it legal. If there was no product, that's when it becomes a Ponzi scheme.
Exactly.
So, yeah, man, that's the way I look at it. It's fucking crazy, because people would make fun of us. If anytime you say, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to make money, they'd be like, oh, you're doing this pyramid scheme shit. It's like, that's not what a business is.
Right.
But the fact that people that are broke from these low-income communities think that a business is a fucking Ponzi scheme blows my fucking mind.
And then what makes no sense to me, and then we could close with this, but what always was mind-boggling was the fact that there were so many people who not only were they comfortable, being where you're at, to where it's like, all right, well, I don't know what's gonna go on tomorrow. Like, it's one thing if you're making a decent, living, like, you can wake up, go to work, you come back, you have maybe a vacation a year, maybe you have to take one biannually or something like that to go and have yourself a vacation or something, and you're cool. But when you have somebody who's got nothing, and you're comfortable there, but then you're actively discouraging people getting out, I never understood that. Because it's one thing if you're fine, that's cool for you, but you then shoot down anybody who's trying to get out. I always had I'd always take issue with that, because it's the worst people to be around. And I think that goes back to with network, who you're around, who do you frequent, the sum of the 5 people, who you hang out is who
misery
you will
loves
become.
Company at the
misery
end of the day.
loves company, because you'll find those individuals who are just like, well, you're gonna try this, well, you'll try and fail, you'll never get out, and then you buy into that shit, and then here you are living with regret because you never actually went through with what it is that you claimed you wanted to do. And
the thing is, I think they get those feelings that they don't know how to process them. Because I'm gonna tell you, from someone that has money, I see someone making more money than me, I still get those feelings of like, fuck this guy, he's making so much more money than me. But it doesn't want me to tear them down.
Right.
Now I tear them down, what does that get me? That's bad karma, if anything. God punishes me now. Now I'm a fucking even more loser.
Right.
When I see these people making more money than me, I still get those feelings of like, almost like envy, jealousy. But instead of tearing other people down, I'm like, okay, how can I get to that level?
Exactly. You use it as fuel to get to,
How can I get there so I don't feel this way? Because I realize that the problem is with me. It's not with them. It's not their fault they're making more money than me. It's not their fault they're doing better. It's me, because I'm not working hard enough, and I'm being a little lazy. I'm not fucking as energetic as I should be. I'm not living as healthy as I should be. There's a lot of variables there. So I see it. I still get those feelings every single day. You look at it internally rather than externally. I'm kind of like, yo, we were talking about it. I was hanging out with my friend, the guy that's worth like $100 million. I see his life. I'm like, this guy, literally, money is fake for him. Right. And it makes me feel crazy. It makes me feel poor, which is crazy, because I come home and I'm like, damn, this place is sick. one of the
Right.
biggest penthouses in Miami, but I feel like I'm still so far behind.
Right, because you've seen more. It's like you can't expose somebody to the greatest things in life that you return back and you're just like, well, all right, I'm cool where I'm at, but wait, this is capable. Like the fact that I know I can attain all of this other stuff, I can't just sit still and be like, all right, well, you know, I'd want to go and achieve more in life. But when you have people who are just actively tearing people down, like, nah, we should all just be on this level. There's no reason to aspire to do more. What are you putting effort towards something? Because you never did yourself. Yeah. You know, and it's just very, you know, overall discouraging. But overall, just to close out, I think that people need to take moments to really think in life, what is the purpose behind whatever it is that's going on in the world, whatever it is that you think, where do your thoughts come from? Do you actually actively believe what it is that's coming out of your own mouth? Have you taken time to really review that kind of stuff and fact check, I guess, per se?
Ask why you're feeling the way you feel.
Ask why you're feeling the way you feel.
Like a hater. Ask why you're breaking other people down.
Right.
Ask why you're poor. Ask all these questions.
Yeah, you should do a life audit and identify where you are mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all these other things, and figure out, you know, who at the core, who you are. Because I think right now there's far too many NPCs, but above all else, there's too many people who are carbon copies of other carbon copies. Yeah. Where you're just living in somebody else's image and you haven't even recognized who you actually are in it of it, you know, yourself. So
I think 2024, because this is probably gonna be the last episode of January 2024.
Yeah.
You got to make some life changes, my boy.
100%, 100%. Go out there, figure out who you are, all right? Because I know who I am. I'm the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the chiseled Adonis. He is a serial entrepreneur, the Filipino Prince. Tycoon, Rene Lacade. And we are, this is Assiduous.
Hey, yo, that segue was a banger. Oh,
a tear is going to come out of my eye before trying my best not to blink.
You gonna leave it like that?
Oh, God. Oh.